Hello, welcome to Visera Link webinar number 3. In this webinar, we're going to focus on client profiles because before you can even scan anybody, you need to create a profile for that person and then you can scan them. So in this webinar, we're going to teach you everything as far as how to create a profile for one of your clients, how to access your own profile so you can scan yourself, and then I'll show you different things you can do inside of a client profile as far as different features and different ways you can manage it. So let's get started. As always, I start the webinars with this important message. Visera Link does not identify, diagnose, or treat any disease or medical condition. And specifically in this webinar, we're going to talk about how to access your profile so you can scan yourself, how to create a new client profile for people other than yourself when you want to scan them, how to add a child profile, client profile management, client groups, how to view client scan history, because that's something you want to do. How do I access somebody's report after they scan themselves, and more. So first, how do you access your profile? So when you want to scan yourself, what you do is when you look at the app on the home screen, up on the top where it says dashboard, you're going to see that on the left, there's a little circle with an image. Now, if you haven't added a profile picture, it may just have your initials or anything. But anyway, it's that circle that's up there on the top left. When you touch it, it will take you to your profile. That's where you can add child profiles in case you have kids under 18 that you want to add and scan. You would add them under your profile, and I'll visually show you how to do all of that later on in the webinar. But other things you do in your own profile is that's where you scan yourself. And that's also where you can view your scan history. In case you want to see your previous report, that's how you access it. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the app and I'm going to show you everything as far as creating profiles, what it looks like, and the management. So here we go. Okay, so this is the app itself, and we're looking at the home screen right here. And down here on the bottom, you see where it says clients. You see those 4 buttons on the bottom. It says home, clients, scan, and more. We're going to focus on the one that says clients. So when I touch it, it'll take me to the client section. Now, right here, you're going to see a lot of information. Now, when you first download the app and you start using it, obviously you're not going to have any clients on your list. In my case, I have a couple test clients that I use for webinars. So you see test adult, test child, test sheet, test 2. Those are all test accounts. But in your case, as you add clients to your app, you will see them right here and it will actually show their name. So the very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to add a client, because remember, when you first get the app, you don't have any clients to manage. So that comes later. First, you need to know how to add a client so you can scan them. And you see that blue button down on the bottom that says add client. I'll go ahead and select it, and it brings this up. So up on the top, you see that there's a circle. It gives you the option to add a picture for that person. That's optional. And then it will ask for their first name and last name. So you'll enter that. We'll go ahead and create one right now. We'll call this one test webinar. Obviously, in your case, you'll put their actual name, and then we'll put their email address. Here we go. Now, the email address you enter right here, that's the email address that when you send them a scan, that's where the scan is going to go to. And then you enter their phone number. And in this case, I'm just entering the Visera main office phone number. And then you enter the date of birth. Now, when it comes to the date of birth, it asks for that information because there might be some products that have restrictions, like somebody from a certain age group should not use this product or those types of things. So you'll go ahead and enter it. Okay, so now as far as the date of birth is concerned, you could actually touch, like in this example, this will look different as time passes. But do you see where in my example, it says May 2007? You would just touch there, and then you can just scroll back to whatever year it is, and you can enter the month, and then you can go back into the little section if you want to change the exact date as well. Now, here's the thing. If you come across anyone who says, oh, I don't know if I want to give you my date of birth, that's fine. Just let them know that it has to do with filters, and you can enter a date of birth that's maybe a year off, or the wrong month, the wrong date, just as long as it's in that range, right? That's the key thing. So it doesn't have to be their exact date of birth if somebody doesn't want to give it to you. So don't worry about that. And then you'll enter the gender. Now, if you select female, it will also bring up an option for pregnant or nursing, and that just has to do with filters. So we'll go back over here, and that's it. That's literally how easy it is to add a client. That's it. Name, email, phone number, date of birth, and gender, and then save. And that's it. So now we're going to see that that new client that we just added, test webinar, is on the list. You see them right there, right on the bottom. So again, this test webinar client is the equivalent of somebody that you're about to scan the first time. You've never scanned them before. They have no history. You literally just created their profile. You're going to see that there's two little buttons, if you call them that, next to their name. And you're going to notice every profile has a star and then a button with three dots stacked on top of each other. The star, what that does is it adds them to your favorites. Because do you see up on the top, on the main menu, the all button is selected, then favorites is next to it in the middle, and then groups on the right side. Anybody that where you select the star, the star, it'll turn yellow, which means they are now in your favorites. So see, I went to my favorites and there they are. So why would you add somebody to your favorites? Well, the more and more and more and more that you scan people, the longer your client list is going to be. So right now, I only have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in this webinar account that I use. But in my real account, I have a bunch of people that I've scanned. So the list is very long, and the same is going to happen to you. You're going to have a lot of people that you scan, but you have your favorites, the people you scan the most. And that could be family members, for example, or other people that you scan. But if you want to access their profile faster, just touch the star next to their profile. And then when you go to favorites, they will be there. And to remove somebody from favorites, you can literally just touch the star again and see, I took them all out and says, hey, there's nothing here. So that's what the star does. Now you're going to notice that there's a button with the three dots stacked on top of each other. When you select it, it's going to give you the option to scan the user, edit the user, meaning edit their profile, like if they have a new email address or, something like that, or archive user. So we're not going to go into the scan user because there's a different webinar that's going to talk about how to run a scan on somebody. But just know right now that's one way you can access that. The edit user will touch. And as you can see, it just took us right back to where we created the profile in case we need to change something. If you change something, hit save. If you don't, you can just touch the X. That's fine. Going back to the three dot button, archive user in red. What archive user does is the app does not allow you to fully delete somebody, but if you archive somebody, it's hiding them. It's removing them from your client list. Why would you archive someone? Well, maybe it's someone that you no longer scan and someone you no longer keep in contact with. So you don't want them taking up room in your client list. You want your client list clean with only people that you're actually working with so it doesn't get bloated. So if you ever come across someone that you scanned maybe 6 months ago, but you haven't even talked to them since and you kind of lost touch, you can archive them. I'm going to archive one of them right now. We'll archive the one that says test sheet, which I was using for a spreadsheet. So we'll do that one. And I'll do archive user. And there you go. So it hid them. Now, what happens if this person comes in contact with me again out of the blue and they're back? Well, it's simple. You just go to the groups button up on the top, and there you go. There's a group called archived. All you do is select it, touch the person's profile, and then you'll see a button that will let you unarchive them, and they'll start showing up on the list again. So now let's talk about creating a child profile, because you can only create a main profile for someone that's 18 years old or older. So if you want to scan a child, whether it's your own child, or maybe you have a client that you created a profile for, and they're like, oh, will you scan my children? Yes, I can. But remember this. To create a child profile, you will not do the add client button like you do for an adult. You will actually go inside the profile for the parent or guardian of the child. So in this case, so let's look at the one I just created, test webinar, the one that's down on the bottom. So let's say that they want me to scan their child. So what I'll do is I'll touch the actual profile. So I'm actually going to touch where their name is. So I'm not touching the star. I'm not touching the three dots that are stacked. I'm touching closer to the left side where it has their name, where it says test webinar. And what that does is it opens up the actual profile. Up on the top, if you added a picture for them, you'll see it right there. You'll also see that there's a star where their picture is, so you can add them to favorites or remove them from favorites. You're going to notice that it has their name, their email address, their phone number, and then a start scan button, which again, we're not going to get into it because there's a webinar that goes into how to run a scan, but just know that button is there. That's another way you can scan somebody. Go into their profile and touch that button. But anyway, you'll see their date of birth, their gender, and then it says scan planning. So this first option that you're going to see, and we'll get to the children, which is right below it in just a second. But the one that says scan planning, that one is where you can schedule a recurring scan. So for example, this will come in handy if you have family members that you know you want them to scan every 30 days, for example. So you schedule a recurring scan for that person. So you don't have to manually send them a scan every 30 days. You just set it up right here. So let's go ahead and show you how to schedule a recurring scan. So I'll touch the button, schedule a recurring scan. Okay, so let's say that you agree that, and I'm just going to pick a random date, that they're going to get scanned every 23rd of the month for whatever reason. That's the date you guys agreed. And again, you decide that with them. But let's say that you agree on the 23rd of the month. What you do is you select the date, and again, you can go forward. So you just choose the date of the first scan. That's what we're doing right here. So we choose the date of the first scan. We click continue, and then it's going to ask me, okay, for this person with these recurring scans, do you want it to just be the regular default scans preferences? And those were, and we went over that in the previous webinar. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you do that, because the default scan preferences will be an option right here. Or you can do a custom where you will select very specific options for that person that's different than your default preferences. So in this case, we'll just do default, we'll save, and that's it. So there you go. Next scheduled scan, May 23rd, 2025, and it's going to send a scan every 23rd of the month. And as you can see, now it gives me the option to edit right here. So I can edit the date, or now there's an option down on the bottom, as you can see, that says delete. So if you want to cancel these, then you would just delete. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to scan children. Not necessarily how to run the scan, but how to add a child profile. So again, let me reemphasize. If you want to scan somebody under 18, that is fine, but you cannot create a profile the same way you create an adult profile. If you want to scan a child, the first thing you have to do is you need to create a profile for the parent or guardian first. And then inside of the profile for the parent or guardian, and this is the parent or guardian profile, this test webinar profile, you go in and you're going to see an option that says children. And then you just touch add child. And that's going to let you add the child. I'm just going to call it test webinar on the first name, and then child as the last name. And then same thing, you do the date of birth. So we'll go ahead and just pick a random date of birth again. And then gender, we chose female on this one, and then save. And there you go. A child profile has been added. And now when I go into this profile for this adult, there's one child under them. So again, when we go over how to run a scan, we'll go over how to actually run the scan. But right now you know how to create a profile for an adult, and now you know how to create a profile for a child. And you can add more children if necessary. And then scan history. This is somebody I've never scanned before, so there's no reports. So, but this is where you'd see their scan history. And then note, these are notes that are meant for you only. Your client cannot see these notes. Basically, if they say something that you feel you want to remember, then you'll enter it right here. Client said this, and then whatever. So it's something you want to remember about them. And you just enter it right there, and then hit save. And there you go. And you can edit it, you can delete it. And on the very bottom, you're going to see the archive client button, which allows you to hide this client completely. Now, up on the top on the client profile, you're going to see that same button we saw on the client menu with the three white dots that are stacked on top of each other. See it up on the top right? If I touch it, it's the same things where I can edit the profile, add them to favorites, or archive. So it's just a different place where you can do the same thing. Let's go ahead and touch the back button. It's that white arrow on the top left, and now we're back. So see, that's how easy it is. Add client, you create a new client. You want to manage the client profile, just go inside of it. We're going to go into a different client profile that I have a bunch of test scans so you can see what the scan history looks like. It's the one on the top, the one that says test adult. So let's go into that profile now. And again, you're going to see that it has the same stuff, a picture, if you add one, etc. It's everything that we already saw. Now, it also shows when I sent them the first scan invite. And then as I scroll down, you can see the scan history. So if you ever send a remote scan to somebody, once they complete the scan on their end, you're going to get a notification on your phone telling you that that person completed their scan. So then what you can do is just go here to the client's menu, go into their profile, and then scroll down to scan history, and you'll be able to see their scans. So all you do is touch it, and it will bring it up, as you can see. There's webinars where we go over the report, so we're not going to do that right now, but that's how you access somebody's report. And as you can see, it sorts them by date. Eventually, you may have people that have scanned many times. So this list where it says scan history, it's going to stop and you're going to see a button down on the bottom that's going to say something like show all or something like that. And then when you touch it, it'll take you to a page dedicated to their scan history where you can sort it by year, by month, etc. So it'll be super easy to find a specific scan. Here on their main profile, you're always going to see their most recent scans with the newest one on the very top. So when you go into your own profile, you're going to notice that it pretty much looks the same, but there are a few things that are not available in your own profile. For example, the archive client button, because you're obviously not going to hide yourself. And also up on the top, to schedule a recurring scan, that's not an option on your own profile because, again, you have a link. You can literally scan yourself whenever you want. So we pretty much went over everything. That's the profiles right there, the favorites list, the groups. Now, the groups, there's one more thing we do want to go over right here. In the groups, you do have the option to add a group. So when you touch the add group button, it's going to bring up a list of all your clients. So this is in case you want to group your clients into certain groups. So for example, maybe you want to create a group called family, and that's where you have all of your family members. Maybe you want to create a group for certain business colleagues or team members or however you want to do it. So you can create different groups so you'll know where you can easily find somebody. So like if I want to create a group called family where I'm only going to add family members and I'm just going to pick some random ones right here. I'll select the ones I want to add to the family group and then save. And that's it. So now whenever I go to the groups button that's on the top right, I'm always going to see the archived, and that's basically people I've hidden. But now I'm going to see the family group, and I can always touch the blue button with the pencil to edit the group, meaning I want to remove someone or add somebody, or I can touch the red trash can to completely delete the group. Again, the purpose of groups is just to quickly find people. If you want to do it that way, you can just as easily add them to the favorites. That works as well. So it's up to you how you want to go about it, but that's just another option. And the last thing we're going to go over right here in the client's menu is the button that's next to the search field. So you see next to the search field, there's that button, and that basically lets you sort. So your clients can be sorted by last name A to Z, first name A to Z, or most recent scan first, or most recent scan last. It's up to you. And then go from there. So there's no right or wrong. As you can see, you can sort them however you want. You can create a list of favorites or create groups. It's up to you. But this is how you create a new client. And this is how you go in to manage their profile, view their scans, And once we go into the how to run a scan, we'll show you the different ways you can scan people. So now we're just going to wrap up with contact information. If you already have Link and you need help, here's the contact information for the billing team and tech support and general support. Call that number, option 1, or email support@visera.com. Or if you have training questions or sales, meaning you want to refer somebody, then feel free to contact us right here. It's the same phone number, except it's option 2. And then the email is sales@visera.com. And here's where you can find us on social media. If you're not following us already, make sure you do so. And thanks for watching. Make sure to watch the next webinar as well.